sitting here stalking my Amazon package like a crazy person. Fernanda is one stop away, and if she doesn't deliver my package, I'll be very sad. Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of A Little Bit Unglamorous. I'm your host, Erica Renee. I have my hot tea, my ginger tea. I feel like my voice is kind of going today. I don't know why. I feel like I finally just got over this long-term cough I had from like December to February. And it kind of reminds me of all the people that had long-term COVID. I don't think it was that, but I've always kind of had allergy issues, and I started taking allergy pills to kind of get rid of the last little bit of the cough, and it totally worked. No coughing. But now I just feel like my throat is so dry. I feel like the allergy pill makes it more dry, and then I'm constantly clearing my throat. And it's just this conundrum forever. I don't know why I've just always been like that, but it's so obnoxious because I feel like my voice just decides to leave the chat. I think Fernanda's here. I propped my gate open just so she could leave my package. I was really excited because I've been obsessed with these little one-piece jumpsuits lately, and I ordered one of those. And then I have I've been meaning to try these Cutwater espresso martinis. I don't know if they're brand new exactly, but I love me an espresso martini. I've never seen one in a can before. It's 13% alcohol, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I need to drink it out of a cute little a coupe, I think they call it, C-O-U-P-E. It's like a little fancy champagne glass, and I found some on Amazon. I got them last night, and I was like, oh, perfect. They'll get here right when I log out of work. I can have my little espresso martini for the podcast. They haven't quite arrived, but I have my hot tea anyway, which is very much needed today. It's just been one of those days, so chaotic. I spent about 10-15 minutes trying to figure out why my microphone wasn't working, and then I was freaking out thinking, oh my gosh, I broke my microphone. How am I going to do the pod? And then I realized it was just the wrong cord that I had plugged in, if that tells you how chaotic of a day that I had. However, a pretty decent day. I wish it was the weekend again already. I had a fairly good weekend, pretty relaxed. On Saturday, what did I do? So on Saturday, I've been saying for forever, I've been trying to get back into the gym. I canceled my gym membership before I went to Hawaii, because there's no 24-hour fitness there, I believe, to my knowledge. So it doesn't really matter because the gym that I usually go to canceled all of the group classes, which is the only thing I really loved. So I put that on hold. I've always wanted to try a bunch of different classes like Pilates and yoga. I've never really been a yoga girly before. I don't have a lot of upper body strength. I have kind of like bad wrists, and I don't know, I've just never had the balance for yoga, never loved it. But I have a girlfriend that goes all the time to a bunch of different classes, and I was talking to her this weekend because she texted me out of the blue asking if I wanted to go to a class with her on Saturday morning. I think it was, she texted me at 9 a.m. and I was up 9 a.m., 9:30. She says, hey, do you want to go with me to this? I forget what the class was called. They all have different crazy names. I have no idea what any of them mean. And I looked at her text, and I told her this too. I looked at her text and I thought, oh, God, do I really want to go work out in an hour? I was just making my coffee, getting ready to have a leisurely morning, and I thought, no, I need to get back into a routine. I got to do this. So I said, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it. I think to myself, okay, do they have a free trial? What do I do? How do I sign up? And it turns out she uses ClassPass. And I always hear YouTubers talk about ClassPass all the time, and I never really thought that it kind of sounds like a tool for learning rather than a workout, just because of the name. But apparently it's this app. Does that mean my package is delivered? Should we ask her? Alexa, read my notifications.
One new notification from Amazon Shopping. For Erica, a shipment could not be delivered. She attempted again.
Fernanda! I left the gate open for you. Oh my God. I wanted to pause filming this pod too because I was like, oh, if I miss this package, I'll be really upset. Fernanda, I'm disappointed. First of all, I had no idea that Amazon hired random people to deliver packages for them. The first time that I saw a random unmarked vehicle roll up to my place and throw out a package, I was so weirded out, but apparently they do that. It kind of looks like, I was live tracking her, have my podcast notes, and then I have my Amazon open right next to it, and it literally has their face kind of like an Uber driver, which is really funny, and it tells you how many stops they're away. But anyway, I'm disappointed, Fernanda. I really wanted my martini coops, but that's okay. I'm sure they'll be back tomorrow. So I went to hot yoga. I don't think I mentioned that. The yoga was hot. It was in one of these heated rooms. It was hot, weighted yoga. And let me tell you, I did not know what I was signing up for. I did not know what I was agreeing to when I got that text at 9 a.m. and I said, yeah, sure, why not? This should have not been my venture back into working out. Maybe I should have done, slowed it a little bit, taken it easy, but I just went straight in, full steam ahead. I don't even think it was a level 1 class. I think it was level 2, but so we get there and I'm like, okay. This is cool. This is fun. This isn't so bad. 15 minutes in, I kid you not, I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to pass out. It's not necessarily that the workout was hard. It's just the heat makes you so dizzy that I thought I was going to die. I physically had to stop because I thought to myself, wow, this would be really embarrassing right now if I passed out in the middle of this class. So I can't let that happen. But anyway, I made it through the class. Those classes are really expensive. I was looking at the price chart and it was something crazy like $160 a month for just this one yoga studio. So you have to really like that one studio and the classes they offer. And I've always wanted to try a bunch of different stuff, which is why I'm kind of excited to do this free trial of ClassPass. And I probably shouldn't be endorsing them as much as I am right now, but I'm genuinely excited about it because most podcasters get paid money to give this ad on ClassPass. But so I'm trying out their trial that I got. I'm gonna try to go to a couple more classes, but I want to attempt to be a yoga girly. I want to attempt to be a Pilates girly. I will never make fun of a yoga mom ever again because that shit was so difficult. My entire body did hurt today. I didn't feel like I really expended a lot of energy working out, but just the heat, even the light weights that I used, it was just, I feel like I got a good head start into having a routine again, so to speak. So let's fingers crossed, I'm gonna really try to do that. I've also been on this no makeup kick. I'm feeling pretty good about it, mostly because I've been lazy in the mornings before I log into work, but I really feel like lash extensions changed my life. So trying out some new ones. Still trying to feel it out, trying to figure out how I feel about them. But so far, I think I do like them. And I just put on a little lip oil. I'm on the lip oil lip gloss train. Oh my gosh. I was stalking Ulta last night, as I normally do. And every time I find stuff that I like, I try to maximize how many things can I get with a discount, how many different coupon codes can I use, if I do it in 2 purchases, can I get more of a discount? And I was looking at this new viral Fenty Beauty lip gloss that's going viral right now. It's a brand new Fenty Beauty lip gloss. It's like a fuchsia color with a bunch of glitters in it, and I'm just marketing has gotten me. I'm like, oh my God, that's beautiful. I need that. I need it. It's not a color I would normally wear, but I need to break out of my shell and try this beautiful fuchsia glittery color. And I think to myself, okay, how can I save as much money as possible before I buy this? And for some reason it backfired because I thought, okay, if I just go to the Fenty Beauty website, sometimes they have stuff on sale, or you can sign up for their mailing list and get a coupon code. So I go to the website and I see, oh my gosh, the entire website is 30% off. And then I fell down the rabbit hole of getting more things than I intended to get. So in essence, it kind of backfired on me, but here we are. My lip gloss arrives on Wednesday. Maybe even before my champagne coupes that were supposed to be here tonight, but that's okay. Sunday, I went to high tea with my girlfriends. That was a lot of fun. Actually, I'd never been before. We went to this place in, where was it? Kearney Mesa area. And it was a lot of fun. There was a little mix-up with the reservations. It was kind of weird because apparently on Sunday they take reservation only. The rest of the week it said the tea room was open 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday's appointment only. So for whatever reason, I thought, okay, 3 p.m. on Sunday, that's our reservation. Got it. I'm going to be there on time. I got ready. I left on time. I roll up. I get there right at 3. I'm thinking I am on time. And for whatever reason, the entire brunch felt so rushed. And it turns out the place, 1, closes at 3. 2, our reservation was actually for 2:30. But it's like, if they close at 3, why would they take a reservation for 2:30? And I was telling my mom this, and she said, isn't tea supposed to be the opposite of rushed? And I thought that's a great point. But so they bring out these like little towers of assortments of little, the cute little sandwiches and the little scones and the jam and the clotted cream. And I actually really enjoyed the clotted cream and the scones. And it was fun. And then you get your tea, and I think for the tower and the tea, it's like $35, which isn't cheap, honestly. I feel like after everything was said and done with the tip and all that stuff, it was like $45 a person. I feel like I ate like a bird, and I felt like we were rushed out. Like it was definitely a great experience because all of my friends are there and we all dressed up. We had our cute little fascinator hats on and we dressed up for the occasion. It made it a whole ordeal. But it's like we look forward to doing these things that we plan. My girlfriend went out of her way to plan all this for us. And then it was kind of like we were rushed out the door. I think we were there for about an hour total. So like I said, worth it because of the company. But I think that the place could have had it together a little bit. We tried to call ahead of time to see, okay, what's going on? Are you open? As there's a discrepancy of the timing on the website and no one answered the phone. And it was just like very weird. Like we weren't even there an hour and we were the last people there and they turned the music off on us. And I was like, this is really weird. I think that's our sign to leave. Let's go. But anyway, I had never been to high tea before. It was a fun experience. I like the fact that San Diego has so many different things that you can try, so many different options. There's always new restaurants. So that was a good time. As I was setting up for the pod tonight, I was thinking to myself, the last time I went through TSA with all of these electronics, because whenever I travel, I bring all the podcast stuff, I bring the microphone, I bring my laptop, I have like my work stuff, and when everything is said and done, because I usually have I have so much stuff just with my job and then my hobbies and stuff, I have a lot of electronics, so I usually have 2 electronics bags, but when I'm traveling, I have to condense into one. And let me tell you, going through TSA with all of these electronics is a nightmare. So I think I am definitely going to try and get TSA pre-check the next time I fly, which is going to be fairly soon already, within the next month or so, next few months. So that's on my to-do list. TSA pre-check, I think it'll be totally worth it. Last time I flew, if you listened to that podcast, you heard all about how that went, and I was a little disappointed because traveling was not, at least in my mind, I thought traveling was a little more fun. And I can collectively hear the laughter of people that travel often as I say that, but I just thought it would be this great experience. I'm going to Hawaii. I'm going on a vacation. This is going to be amazing, so relaxing. Wasn't that. Everybody at the airport was not very nice to me, and it was just the most chaotic day. So next time I'm going to avoid all of it, standing in the crazy long lines at San Diego International Airport for the TSA. The TSA people bark at you. I have no idea. I feel like they change the rules every so often of what you can and cannot do. Do you take your shoes off? Do you leave them on? Do you take the laptop out? Just the laptop? No, apparently it's every single electronic. Like, just crazy stuff, and they just herd you like cattle. So TSA pre-check, that's on my to-do for sure. Okay, I had to pose for my I had to pose for my thumbnail just now. I'm not sure if I'm going to cut that out or leave it in for comedy, but I've been doing these new little screen grabs of or these new little covers for my YouTube videos because I'm trying to track more clicks, and I feel like I'm really proud of how they turned out. I almost look professional, so I'm going to try to actually pose for my thumbnails because I've just been taking like random grabs of the video and like random derp faces and just making it into a cover photo, and they've kind of worked out, but in some of them you can tell I'm just like mid-sentence and just take the screen grab. But anyway, I've been talking, and I haven't even gotten to any of my hot topics yet. So I have some notes, pop culture updates of the week. Get ready. First of all, I have to address the Kate Middleton, just complete mayhem. I'm sure that you've heard that Kate Middleton finally came out and publicly addressed why she had been gone and away from the public eye for so long, and she came out and said that she has cancer and has been undergoing treatment, which is so terrible, so sad, and it just makes the whole fiasco seem so misplaced. And I even went back immediately when I saw that and heard it and just changed the title of my last video because I had heard, like, you know, everybody was just joking, not necessarily at her. They were joking at the fact that the media was just going all up in arms about, oh, why is she missing? What could it be? This is so weird. And just a lot of strange rumors came from that, and a lot of celebrities actually came forward and apologized because, you know, they were kind of jumping on the joke. I think even Kim Kardashian said on Instagram, like, on my way to go find Kate, Blake Lively posted something poking fun of it, and then I think she later actually came out and, you know, apologized for that. But really, to like their defense, I don't think anybody was actually making fun of her. They were making fun of the fact that the media was just being so crazy, as the media does, over at the time what seemed like nothing. It seemed harmless. Looking back in retrospect, it is really sad because it almost seems as if she was bullied into coming out and speaking before she was ready. However, she has denied that that was the case, and the reason why she had waited so long was because she wanted to tell her young children first. She wasn't sure how to tell them, which completely makes sense, and wanted to, you know, inform the public when she was ready on her own terms. So I hope that's the case. We wish her well. It's just a really sad outcome, and something that was supposed to be a small internet joke just turned into this whole fiasco. And just makes you think, just be careful what you say, because you never know what somebody's actually going through. With that being said, men who leave their wives for other women are not off limits. And we're moving on. So the next topic I have to revisit is this Quiet on Set docuseries that came out, the Drake Bell episode. I finally sat down and I watched the whole thing. I have some notes. Have to place a disclaimer. It's gonna get a little, you know, not as happy-go-lucky as I usually like to keep things, but this, I've been going down a rabbit hole. It's been on my mind. I've been going down this Nickelodeon rabbit hole, and I feel like it's got to be talked about. So, the letters that the letters that were written to the judge in this Drake Bell case. So it was Brian Peck. I think it was Brian Peck against the state. How do you say that? Because at the time Drake Bell was a minor, so they didn't actually have his name. He was just known as John Doe, and then they submitted all of the evidence. And in order to do that, they actually had to interview him, and he had to give extreme detail on every single one of the incidences, which I can't even imagine how more traumatizing that is to not even, one, go through it, and two, recount each and every one in extreme detail to somebody. I just can't even imagine. So apparently in I don't know if it's for every high profile case or how it works, but in this instance, the judge allowed letters of character to be written for the defendant, who was Brian Peck. So a lot of times people who are going to court, they will solicit their friends, people they knew, to write them letters to the judge requesting that they go lenient on him for whatever. It's beyond me why it even matters. I don't think it matters how great of a person you were. If you go and do something awful to somebody and you're convicted of it, you are guilty. It doesn't matter how great you were and how much you donated to kids charity, or how like amazing you were in first grade, blah, 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 like how you're the best employee. No, you did something awful, you pay for it. So it is my opinion, and I think many people will agree, that it's a good thing that these letters that were written to the judge at the time are now unsealed, and we can see exactly the people who defended this person. And mind you, at the time of the letters, this person was already being convicted of these crimes. The trial was going on. The evidence was there for you to look up. Because some people have come out and said, you know, I didn't know all the details when I was asked to write that. And you just think that, okay, if somebody I knew was like, hey Erica, like I'm being convicted of child, can you write me a letter to help the judge go easy on me? First of all, that's the only thing they'd have to say for me to be like, no, absolutely not. But you'd think somebody would take the time for something of such a terrible magnitude to be convicted of, that you would take the time to look into the details of the case, especially if you're gonna try and even consider defending that, which is undefendable. So we're just gonna take the time and list a couple of the famous celebrities that came out and were in support of Brian Peck, because I think that they deserve all of the heat that they are getting. And the first one I was very, very, very disappointed by. And he has not said anything. I'm still waiting, and I'm talking to you, James Marsden. I love James Marsden. He was Superman on Smallville. He is, what was he recently in with Christina Applegate? And was it Christina Ricci? No, not Christina Ricci. It was, God, her name, Velma. Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. But he's been in a lot of notable series. He's a very good-looking man. He is just like, he looked so good in Smallville. Very popular actor. I think he's about 50 now. He was 30 years old when he wrote this letter defending Brian Peck. He was a full-grown man, knew exactly what he was doing, and the letter is very strongly written in his favor. Basically, call a spade a spade, it was just victim blaming, basically saying like, there could have been, what did it say? It said, there must have been great temptation for him to fall victim of this terrible act, and he has been under so much stress for the last year. Best believe it'll never happen again, basically something like that. And I'm just like, I'm in awe of these letters and how outlandish they are. And we got the first taste of celebrities catching heat over this with Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher when they came out they were in support of Danny Masterson, who was just also convicted of something similar. I didn't read into the details of his case. I don't know if it's as an intense magnitude of this one, which is crazy because I feel like Danny Masterson got more time than this man, who I was reading the court docs and, well, I wasn't reading the court docs. I Googled some of the things that he was convicted of, and they are just so heinous and unspeakable. Like, I didn't even know some of that stuff. I didn't know what some of that stuff meant. That's how awful it was. Granted, in 2003, when this went down, the internet wasn't as readily available, but still, that's not any sort of excuse. But we're going to move on from James Marsden, which I really hope he comes out and has something to say, because I love James Marsden, and it's hard to look at him in the same light, and it's hard to be a fan of a celebrity that does something like this. So we're going to move on to Taran Killam. Personally, I'm not really sure who that is. I think he was on SNL, and he's an actor. I was surprised the next two are both Boy Meets World, which was a popular sitcom in the 90s, ran through the 2000s. So Ryder Strong and Will Friedle, they played Sean Hunter and Eric Matthews in the popular show. They were the two main characters right beside, what was his name? The guy that played Corey, and then the girl that played Topanga. The guy that was like, Fina, Fina, Fina. And then the Ryder Strong was like the boy toy attractive. He had the bowl haircut that was like really in then, and he was like the attractive kid on the show. I don't want to say kid, but he was like the high school attractive one. Anyway, they both wrote letters too, and they actually did address this on their podcast. They have a podcast now. It's called Pod Meets World, and it's some of the old cast members from that show, and I haven't listened to it personally. And they basically said that at the time of writing the letters, they didn't know all of the details, which again, I just don't really think is a good excuse at all. You knew exactly of what this person was being convicted of, what they were being tried for, and you didn't bother to look into it. And then we had both of the Growing Pains parents, so Alan Thicke, who has since passed, and Joanna Kearns. They both played the parents on Growing Pains. They also both wrote letters. I don't think Joanna Kearns has come out. Obviously, Alan Thicke can't. He's passed. But these letters were so strongly worded in this man's favor that it's just absolutely mind-blowing. And watching the docuseries, Drake Bell, a lot of it was him speaking to the camera directly and addressing everything. And he said he remembers showing up to the courtroom, and at that time, nobody knew that it was him in these court documents. So everything was sealed. All the evidence was sealed, but he actually gave his testimony on the stand. And back then, I guess what he was saying is you could go in and out of the courtroom pretty freely. So he was able to remain anonymous until, of course, he showed up in the courtroom to address the jury. And he said he remembers, and this is even more, it's just terrible. He says he remembers showing up to the courtroom, and Brian Peck's side is packed. Every seat was filled in support of this man after they had seen all this evidence of all these awful things that they did to this John Doe. And he looks at his side of the courtroom, and it's legitimately him and both of his parents, and that's it. So, what I had to write down exactly this quote that he said on stand. He got up there and he looked at everybody in the eye sitting on the other side of the courtroom. And I had to take the exact quote because it was very well thought out, very well put, and I hope these people remember that day. I hope they think about that day. So he gets up on the stand and he looks at everybody sitting in the stands, and he says, looks them in the eye and says, "You will forever have the memory of sitting in this courtroom and defending this person. And I will forever have the memory of the person you're defending violating me and doing unspeakable acts and crimes. And that's what I'll remember. And I seriously wonder if the people who were sitting in that courtroom think about that day and think about how they were on the wrong side of history, how they messed up. And I hope they're embarrassed. And I hope they are embarrassed as these celebrities that wrote the letters that are coming out, and they deserve to be addressed by name and thrown out there. I'm glad they're getting thrown under the bus. They deserve it. I hope they're embarrassed, because I just really can't see how, there's just no excuse. It's just disgusting. So, people were also attacking Josh Peck, who was Drake Bell's co-star on Drake and Josh at the time, because he has not publicly come out and said anything, addressing anything. Granted, it's not his story to tell. I know Drake and Josh have had kind of a rocky up and down relationship throughout the years. They were friends and they weren't friends, and there's all this drama because Josh Peck didn't invite Drake Bell to his wedding, and I don't know. He's been interviewed basically saying they weren't friends, and then Drake Bell was interviewed saying, well, that's a lie, we were friends, and I don't know. It was just weird, but I feel like anytime Drake Bell's been interviewed asking about Josh Peck, he's always taken the high road and said really positive things about him, and I don't think he's ever said anything negative about him to the media. And this is no different. He actually came out and addressed his fans and said, hey, take it easy on Josh Peck. He actually did reach out to me, and, we've been talking, not everything has to be publicly put out there, which is completely true. I know another episode also touched on Dan Schneider. Dan Schneider? Yeah, that's his name. He's another producer from Nickelodeon. I don't think he's been convicted of anything, but people have come out against him as well for, I don't know what the word is, uncomfortable, hostile working environment, inappropriate working environment. Like, he would ask women colleagues for massages, women, that had their own jobs, like set designers, and they'd be in the middle of, doing costuming or whatever, and he would call them over and give him a massage, just weird stuff like that. And it's also been called into question his relationship with some of the younger child actors as well. There's actually this clip that's circulating the internet, which is pretty disturbing, and it's of a young Leonardo DiCaprio. He's barely a teenager, beginning years, maybe before What's Eating Gilbert Grape, when I think it was on Growing Pains. Was he? Or was that Drake Bell? I think Drake Bell was on Growing Pains. He was the little tool kid. Tim the Tool Man Taylor had a kid or something on his show. I can't remember. But Leonardo DiCaprio is in this clip with Dan Schneider, and Dan Schneider would do these weird things. He would take a video camera to set, and he would just be all up in his, child actor's business, filming them and talking him with the camera up, and all these clips are now surfacing, and all of the kids look really uncomfortable, basically, get out of my face with this camera, but they kind of smile and laugh it off as if, they can't say anything or they will regret it. They'll be punished. They'll be, shunned, so to speak. And so there's this clip of young Leonardo DiCaprio and Dan Schneider, and Dan is being touchy with him and kind of putting his arm around him, and it's just really weird, really uncomfortable vibes, and it kind of correlates all the things that people are saying about him too. But moving on to Amanda Bynes, this kind of loops into the whole rabbit hole that I went down. I was watching Nickelodeon videos. I just keep getting recommended stuff when I fall down these rabbit holes, And, people were saying, I want to hear what Amanda Bynes has to say. Apparently she declined being part of this interview for Quiet on Set, stating that nothing negative ever happened to her, or she had never had a negative experience. So that's probably based on, you know, what we've kind of heard in the past, it's probably not the truth, but a lot of these child actors were offered a lot of money to not say anything, basically sign an NDA. So a lot of these child actors that don't have any comment, and people were speculating, maybe even Josh Peck, because he hasn't said anything, to kind of echo all of the claims, and especially since, you know, one of his very well-known co-stars has came out with such this massive story. And we all know that Jeanette McCurdy came out with her book recently. It's called I'm Glad My Mom Died, and it's all about her experience as a child actor and having a stage mom that didn't necessarily have her best interests and was kind of mentally unstable, and kind of the repercussions of that. And she names this showrunner, producer, I think she calls him the producer. She doesn't call him by name, but she basically talks about this popular show she was on Nickelodeon, and she doesn't ever say any names, but it's very easy to, you know, decipher. She's talking about Sam and Cat. So back in the day, her and Ariana Grande, but before she became this huge pop star, they were on this Nickelodeon show called Sam and Cat. And, you know, she talks about all of these experiences and their producer. And if you put two and two together, it's really easy to kind of deduce that it's Dan Schneider, that the producer would kind of be just had this hostile work environment, just be very hot and cold toward people. And if you were not doing exactly what he said, he would punish you by taking you out of scenes. And there were just all these rumors going on about that. And she said when she walked away from Nickelodeon, she was offered a deal. Well, she was offered an NDA basically, and offered $300K, which back then, I mean, it's still a lot of money now, back then a lot of money. And I was kind of looking into all this, and somebody I saw on the internet brought up a good point and said, well, if Jeanette McCurdy was offered $300,000, and at that time she wasn't even the top star of Disney, imagine how much some of these other child actors were offered. So I keep saying Disney and Nickelodeon interchangeably, but tomato, tomato, am I right? So people were asking what Amanda Bynes had to say about all of this. They wanted her to come out and say something. But people were really quick to point out Amanda Bynes has been telling her side of the story for years. Years before she was put into this conservatorship, before she was kind of made a mockery of by the media. You know, she had a very public mental health issues, and before all that stuff was going down, she came out on social media. She had this unconfirmed Twitter account, so it's not confirmed to be her, but it's very widely speculated it was actually her. And this account, it had the name Ashley Banks. It was the username PersianLA27, and it would tweet out all of these pretty intense accusations. One of them being that her parents were trying to put her in a conservatorship and take all of her money. Look what happened. She did end up in the conservatorship. And one of the tweets, I probably shouldn't like read all of them, but one of them was basically alluding to the fact that her boss had done things to her, and the official Amanda Bynes Twitter denounced this other Twitter account saying, oh, that's not her. And then immediately the other account said, you know, I was forced to say all that stuff, and in an attempt to kind of prove that this unconfirmed account was actually her, she tweeted a partial photo of her driver's license photo to prove that it was actually her. Again, we're not really sure if it actually was her or not. But for all the work that Amanda Bynes did as a child actor, she should be in a mansion. She should be living life. And like I mentioned in the last podcast, she does cameos now, and she's pretty active on social media again. And I love Amanda Bynes. I love her. She just made so many people's childhoods so much better, and you know, I want the best for her. I want her to be happy. It seems like she's really happy making these cameos and telling people, you know, really positive things, so I hope that is helping her. But I'm looking at the background of these videos that she's making, and just the background is very humble, very plain. It just looks like she's in a small apartment, not very decorated. And it just seems to me that, you know, Amanda Bynes was the child actor. She had a show called The Amanda Show as a kid, as a, preteen. And she acted all the way up until her 20s. And she acted and starred in many, many shows. She had another spin-off TV show that was written just for her after The Amanda Show ended. It was called What I Like About You. And I actually was just thinking the other day I should go back and watch that show because I never got into that. It was kind of like a more mature show showing that Amanda was, you know, becoming an adult, and it had a more like mature plot line, but it still kind of had that comedic relief that we are all used to from Amanda. And I think it spanned like 5 or 6 seasons, so it ran for a long time. I kind of want to go back and watch it. I bet it's on some sort of streaming service. But I think that show was actually written for her by Dan Schneider. And I remember there being this whole thing right after the Amanda Show, before that show started, that she wanted to be emancipated from her parents. So she was that young. She wasn't even 18 yet. She was still a teenager. And she felt like her parents were trying to control her and steal her money. And I can't remember if she actually did get emancipated or not, but I don't know. There's been some weird speculation with Dan Schneider and his role in that, and she's never come out and said anything. And you know what? Like, she shouldn't have to. If she doesn't want to, you know, she should not feel obligated or pressured into doing or saying anything that she doesn't want to do. But in my opinion, Amanda Bynes should be living in a mansion, living it up, and it just seems to me that something went awry, which leads me into some slightly more current news on the same topic. Who remembers Here Comes Honey Boo Boo? So I think it was Toddlers and Tiaras. That was this hit crazy show, and that show's had a lot of heat too, for basically 2-year-olds that their pageant moms dress up, make them wear fake teeth, all this makeup, fake hair, and perform in pageants, which is just crazy because when you're that young, how do you know if that's what the child really wants? And it's just gotten a lot of heat because of the outfits that they're wearing, and is it appropriate? And so anyway, Toddlers and Tiaras, I can't remember how many seasons it spanned, but one of the breakout stars of that show was deemed Honey Boo Boo. That was her nickname. I think her real name is Alana. And she was popular on the show because she was not a typical looking pageant girl. Her mom was very unconventional. She was this bigger woman who admitted to giving her child like Red Bull and calling it go-go juice so she would perform better on stage, which was just met with complete pushback, as it should, because it's completely outrageous. But people just fell in love with Honey Boo Boo and her outgoing personality and her confidence on the stage, even though she was not your typical little pageant girl. And they ended up getting a spin-off show. It was called Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, and it followed her. She was a kid. She's now grown up now. She just turned 18 years old, I believe, which is crazy. She's going to college, and I think recently she was also on Dancing with the Stars. And I think she was on Dancing with the Stars at 17, and her mom goes by Mama June. And Mama June very popularly had this makeover. She went from being just 100 pounds overweight to losing so much weight, like just wearing makeup, looking very, very beautiful, getting all these procedures done. And on the current season of the show, there's a clip of Elena confronting her mom about her money that she earned from the show Here Comes Honey Boo Boo and Dancing with the Stars. And she said, "Mom, where is all that money? I want to go to college. it's not there. So apparently when you're a child actor, there is an account. It's called a Coogan account. And at least in California, it's required by California law for your parent, because you are not old enough to handle finances and all of that. So your parent handles the finances on your behalf. And we've seen this go wrong in so many different cases. How many times have we seen a child actor sue their parents for mismanagement of their money? Which is terrible and sad, of course. And so I had to look up exactly what a Coogan account was because I had never heard of it personally. Obviously, I'm not in the child acting realm. So a Coogan account is a California child actors bill, and it's applicable to child performers, and it's designed to safeguard their earnings for whenever they turn 18. So when they're working, the parent is supposed to put their money into this account, and it sits there. When the child turns 18, they can then access the account and have their rightfully earned money because they're working and that is their money. Now, a lot of parents will call themselves their child's management so that way they can take a cut of this. I mean, I'm sure it does cost a lot, and also, financially take a toll for the parent to kind of stop their job and, take their child to acting lessons and take them here and there and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure it is a financial toll. But so it is required that at least 15% of the funds that your child makes is put into this account. Only 15%. That's nothing. The child's guardians and parents and family, they are not allowed to access this money. And then also it's noted for background actors, if you're not a main character, the 15% doesn't apply. So your family member doesn't have to put squat in that account for you. They could just keep all of it. And, all of this is very moral. So the law says 15%, but morally, you should definitely be putting in more. That's not your money, right? It's your child's money. And you think any parent would want the best for their child and put their child's best interest first. So Mama June very publicly had an addiction issue. She went through that, transformation. I was talking to my mom a while ago about it. Even she was saying, like, yeah, she looks amazing. Where'd she get that money? So on this season of the show, I saw a clip and Elena is confronting her mom saying, Mom, where is this money? Where's my Dancing with the Stars money? It's all gone. And Mama June is saying, yeah, all of the Here Comes Honey Boo Boo money, we use that to buy this house. And the Dancing with the Stars money, it's gone. And she was trying to justify it too. She was supposed to be putting 80% of the funds in the account. Turns out that she was only putting 20 and trying to make it seem like, oh, it's only California law to put 15% minimum. So 20 is actually more. And it's really sad to see her justifying this. And Elena says, okay, well, if my money, I was under the impression that you use your money to buy this house that we live in. And if that's the case, how come when you sold this, or I think it was a different house, when you sold that house, how come I didn't get any proceeds? And the mom basically just said, well, what's done is done. If I could go back and change it, I would, but I can't. And I wanted to talk about this because I know it has been clipped on, gossip websites and talked about, but the clip I only ever saw was, Here Comes Honey Boo Boo is mad at her mom because she won't pay for college, which is not the story at all. It's not the story at all. And all the comments are basically saying, oh, she's entitled. She expects her parents to pay for her college, blah, blah, blah. And then when you look into it and do a deep dive, no, her mother mismanaged her money that was hers and spent it all, which is sadly not very surprising and happens all the time. So sadly, you can't even trust your own family members a lot of the time. It's crazy how often this happens. I can't even believe it. But we're going to loop into some happier news to end the podcast with. I got a couple other things that are kind of more on a positive note. First of all, NSYNC reunion. If that's happening, I need to be there. Maybe not front row. I'll take nosebleeds. I got to see Backstreet Boys, and I was trying to remember when I saw them, so I actually looked it up. It was in 2014, so it was way after the Backstreet Boys boy band phenomenon era had happened. The exact date was May 28th, 2014. I saw the Backstreet Boys for $25 at Viejas Arena, which is at San Diego State University, and I went with one of my girlfriends at the time. We just got, whatever nosebleed tickets, and it wasn't even a super packed show, and we, mid-show, ran up to the front where we saw seats nobody was sitting at the entire time. Ended up getting close to the front, pretty close to the pit area, and I just relived my best childhood. And it was the most fun. I, to this day, think really fondly of that. I'm really glad I went. I wish I could see NSYNC. So if they reunite, I have got to see them. I, to this day, wish I would have seen Britney Spears, but her Vegas tickets were so expensive. And now, knowing what we all know, she clearly didn't want to be doing the Vegas residency, so I'm kind of glad I didn't support it. But they were still $500 a pop to see her, and she looked like she was she described it in her book that she was sleepwalking through the show, and she very much looked that way. So there's no way I'm paying $500, to see somebody not even want to be there, basically. So Justin Timberlake reunites NSYNC in LA for their first performance since 2013. They have a new song called Paradise, and they're kind of teasing that they might get back together. I also heard that Spice Girls might get back together, so it's all of these bands, I'm getting to that era where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to see them or I might never. The last thing I have to touch on that I thought was so funny is Holly Madison. She finally came out and commented on Crystal Hefner's book. So I think I mentioned that I listened to Holly's first audiobook. I still want to listen to the second one, but Crystal Hefner came out with a book as well, and I can't even remember the name at the moment. I think it's something like Pretty Girls Tell the Truth or something, or I don't know. Pretty Girls Keep Quiet. Let's look. Crystal Hefner book. Only Say Good Things. I watched a few interviews with Crystal Hefner, and I don't know what it is, but something about her, I don't know. I was just always such a big fan of The Girls Next Door. It didn't seem like any animosity was coming from Holly, Bridget, and Kendra's side. I think it was very much from elsewhere, but this is the first time I've ever seen Holly come out and not say anything but positive, PR-friendly things, and I thought it was pretty funny. So Holly Madison has a podcast now. She's very active on social media. She has a TikTok account. She basically comes out and says, hey guys, fun fact, did you know that any book that's on the New York bestsellers list, if the New York bestsellers list thinks that it was fraudulently put up there, like they were doing something to boost the sales, they denote it next to the name of the book or the book selection with a little upside down cross. And she goes, the more you know, who would have thought? And then she moves, and the screen grab is of Crystal Hefner's book with that little denotation next to it, because her book went to the top of the bestsellers list, basically alluding to the fact that she boosted her sales. And I mean, I know I'm not really interested in reading the book. No, I'm not really interested in reading the book, but I thought that was really funny. But that's all I have for this week's episode. I know it got a little intense this week, but I had to go through that Quiet on Set. It was so heavy. It was so fascinating, and I don't know, a kid that grew up on Nickelodeon and Disney, it's just really crazy to hear all these allegations coming out. Next week, we'll be back with some more positive and uplifting pop culture updates for you. And as always, thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you in next week's episode. Bye, guys.